Nigeria making a big show at the Africa Business Heroes 2021 prize competition, the first round. Put in place by Jack Ma. But let's get on to talk more about this, because in spite of the global virus pandemic, venture capital investments in Africa soared to record levels last year because global investors demonstrate confidence in key sectors across the economy. And that's according to a new report released by the African Private Equity and Venture Capital Association, simply known as AFCA. Let's chat now to the new report and get some insights into what the current year 2021 is looking like. My guest on this is Abi Mustapha Maduaka, the CEO of the African Private Equity and Venture Capital Association, the Pan-African industry body that promotes and enables private investments across frontier Africa. A warm welcome to the show, madam. Good evening.
Good evening, Wilson. Thank you for having me.
It's good to see you. Thank you so much. Well, what are the issues that your latest report seeks to address?
Essentially, this is the second edition of our Venture Capital in Africa report. And what it's really trying to demonstrate is the level of deal activity in the venture investment space. It also looks to speak to the profile of the investors, so where the investment's coming from, what type of investors are investing in the space. And finally, the report looks to also showcase where the investments are going. So what sectors are we seeing the investments in? What regions are we seeing the investments in? And really, it also looks to talk about the key trends and developments in the venture capital industry over the past year. This is the second time we've done the report, and like you've said, we're seeing really fantastic numbers in terms of deal activity for 2020, which is really exciting, given all with the backdrop of all the economic uncertainty that was arrived in 2020.
Yes, I look at the executive summary of that report, and that's what we're putting on the TV screen: financials, tech companies, infotech. It looks like these are the sectors, but we'll get to that in a second. Where is the bulk of the majority of these venture capital funding in Africa concentrated within the period under review? It looks like the tech guys are the ones making the biggest of the funding or the investments.
Yes, of course. So if we look at the sectors, if we just isolate the sectors, we can see the majority of the deals are actually concentrated in the financials and the information technology sectors, and that's no surprise. Even when if we look at private equity, which is more later stage financing, we can see the financials and information technology are also the top two sectors where we see a lot of the deals. If we focus particularly on tech, what's really interesting this year is 90% of the deals that occurred in 2020 were in technology or tech-enabled companies. And it's no surprise that obviously because we had COVID during 2020, a lot of companies migrated to digital solutions. We saw a lot of innovation using technology as a key enabler. So that's very much reflected in where we're seeing deal activity. And finally, the consumer story is still rife across all the deals that we're seeing during the year. We're seeing a lot of deals in consumer-driven sectors as well.
Before we talk about how the startups in Africa are changing the continent, take a quick look at the country ranking in terms of where some of these venture capital funds are going. South Africa reporting 21% of the deals by volume. Egypt, 16%, the second highest for last year. Where do you have the rest of the big names such as Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya on this in this report, Abi?
Yeah, so of course, if you go further down the hierarchy, you will see Nigeria and Kenya third and fourth place in terms of where the deals are going. What's really great is Egypt, because if we look back last year, Egypt didn't rank as second in terms of the where the most of the deals were going. So that's really good. And I think we're seeing a lot of innovation coming out of Egypt. The Egyptian government is also putting in place very private sector friendly policies to encourage more investments in venture and early stage investments as well. So Nigeria, of course, you can't ignore Nigeria. At the moment, we had last year we had the Flutterwave Series C raise, which was incredible. This year. And last year we had Strive's acquisition of Paystack. So we see a large volume of deals coming from Nigeria and Kenya as well, albeit slightly behind South Africa. But before I close on this point, what's very interesting is South Africa is paving the way. But if we look from 2014 to 2020, we can see that a lot of the deals, about 60% of the deals, are actually in startups with headquarters outside of Africa. So that's a really interesting perspective. So that's businesses like startups like Andela, like Grow Intelligence, that might be headquartered outside of Africa, but are providing services that are catered to the continent.
Interesting. So how much impact are these startups, venture capital funding doing on the African continent? Are they changing the economic landscape? And what new market opportunities are we seeing across these sectors?
So I'll take your second question first. In terms of market opportunities, we're seeing multiple market opportunities. So what the startups have been able to do is really disrupt a lot of the traditional industries. And they've done this by providing homegrown solutions to a myriad of the challenges that we have on the African continent, whether that be in healthcare, whether that be in financial services, whether that be in logistics. We're seeing a lot of creative solutions addressing some of these problems, which is fantastic. We're also seeing startups attracting a diverse set of investors. So the likes of Chipper Cash, the likes of Flutterwave, their raises were really great signaling that Africa is bringing some really credible businesses. So I think that's really good and has positioned the continent and positioned startups to be able to raise in the future from non-traditional domestic and international investors. And those sorts of businesses also increasing the visibility and the potential profitability of the startups on the continent. So I think they're creating a lot of market opportunities. It was interesting that you mentioned for the Africa Business Heroes, I saw in your update that 38% of the 50 finalists were female entrepreneurs. I mean, I can't stress this enough. I'm
not surprised you caught that.
Well,
you wouldn't miss that for anything.
Fantastic.
Yes, it is. I was really enthused by those numbers. 38% of the top contestants are women.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But this is really, I think it's really positive, and it's something that we don't stress enough. I mean, women make up 80% of the informal sector on the continent. And, sub-Saharan Africa has the highest ratio of female to male entrepreneurs. And now we're seeing a lot of these female entrepreneurs getting access to capital. And our report shows that 11% of the deals in 2020 were in companies with female CEOs. And over 30% of the deals were into founders that were female or had at least one female if there were multiple founders. So this is positive. It might seem like a dip in the ocean if you look at it in isolation, but if you compare it from where we're coming from, it's very positive. And I, for one, I'm looking forward to see how this evolves.
I want to see more. Let's talk about technology, Abi. Tell me about the vital role of technology in driving economic growth on the continent, and why these investments in technology-based businesses or startups are very key to our economic development.
I mean, it's clear technology has really just disrupted the way we do things, and that's part of the only blessing from COVID-19. It's almost leapfrogged our technology adoption. I mean, look at how we're doing this interview now. I'm in London, we're doing it via Zoom. I don't have to be in a studio. So technology has really enabled a lot of sectors. And like I said earlier, that's the reason why 90% of our deals that we saw were in technology or tech enabled industries. And I think, this is really important. It's played a critical role in enabling financial inclusion across the continent and really using technology to address some of the fundamental infrastructural challenges in the financial services industry. We've seen technology enable the payments industry. We've seen technology improve financial inclusion for those that were unbanked, creating services that serve that population. We've also seen technology in the healthcare space. So we've seen the likes of M-Pharma capitalize on technology. We've seen the likes of Elara Health capitalize on technology as well. And it's even being used to enable infrastructure as well. So we see the likes of Spark Meter, who they provide off-grid electricity management systems using technology as a key enabler. And finally, we're seeing a lot of companies doing some really interesting things in technology. InstaDeep, they're an artificial intelligence company that provides solutions to various industries. So it's really key. I mean, most of the startups that we're seeing generating traction, able to raise at the moment, technology features as a key enabler to the service that they provide. And I think the way the world is moving, albeit accelerated by the pandemic, it's very, very positive to see that in Africa we are ahead of the curve and we're using technology to enable various industries.
On a final note, Abi, here we are at the middle of the year. So what's your outlook on the current year so far, 2021 first half report, and at AVCA, what are you looking at for the rest of the year?
So in terms of the outlook, still very positive. We think technology will continue to feature in the deals that are prominent in 2021, and we've started seeing that. So in 2020, although we had more deals, we had over 300 deals. Of course, the value of the deals, 1.1 billion, was less than 2019. So we're hoping to see the value of deals return to the heights of 2019. And we feel positive about this because we've already started seeing larger raises. So Chipper Cash, the raise was larger. Flutterwave, the raise was larger. So we're hopeful that we're going to see larger raises. And then we think that we're still going to see businesses, finding creative ways to address some of these homegrown challenges. So our outlook is positive.
Yeah, we're going to keep an eye on your progress. We'll bring you back in the next couple of months, Abi, shouldn't we? Great to have you on the show tonight. Abi Mustapha Maduaka, CEO at the African Private Equity and Venture Capital Association, speaking to us out of London.